But the major concern from what you said for me is the way the media has reported it, because you made mention of people being named and the monies that were taken from them by Vance also put alongside their names. I think the media should be very responsible how this is reported, because you're putting those guys in harm's way. I mean, those people who have been named and all of that. Other kidnappers out there will say, wow, this guy has so much money, maybe there's still some left, you know, and go after. So I think I want to appeal to the media that we should be responsible in putting the people's names and names of family members of people out there, because in the end, we're not doing them any good.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it's a very bizarre case, and we're just hoping that justice does prevail in this one, especially for the families that have been affected over the years, and hopefully the judiciary just sit up to their duties with this one. Let's move away from that now and go into Mr. Senate President Bukola Saraki, who from the day he became Senate President has been in turbulent waters, you know, from one case to the other. At the beginning of his Senate presidency, it looked like it wasn't going to last a month. Because they kept throwing case after case at him, and there was even a talk about, oh, is his mandate legitimate, you know, and all of that. But this week we found out that the Code of Conduct Tribunal has said he has no case to answer.
And he rode the whole storm very well, you know. From the moment he was taken to the Code of Conduct Tribunal for not declaring or improper declaration of his assets, for this declaration of assets, he's been very calm about it. Or at some point, 50 lawmakers will follow him to, to the courtrooms and all of that. There was so much drama. He kept saying it was a political witch hunt, and he said himself this week that he's been vindicated, you know. And like we said earlier, he won. I mean, technicalities again, all over again, that word. The no case submission triumphed over whatever case the federal government put out there against him. And I also think, looking back at all of this, that this was down to poor prosecution or lack of diligent prosecution on the part of the anti-graft agencies and on the part of the federal government. Because I don't think that the evidence they had against Saraki was that watertight. And we were entertained for how many years again? And he's walked away, and a lot of people will walk away. I mean, as long as the prosecution isn't diligent, as long as the cases against people who have been accused isn't tight, people will keep walking away. Yeah.
I know it's nice to talk about all of this in a fair way, but looking into the meat of it, which we've all sort of known / speculated over the years, is this as much a win for Bukola Saraki as it is a loss for President Buhari and Bola Tinubu, for example? Those are the two names that have always come up when this case comes up, with the infighting that's been going on in the APC.
Yeah, it's all of the above. A win for Bukola Saraki, a loss for the president's anti-corruption work, because I don't think he secured a big name conviction yet. I know of the former governor of, I think, Adamawa State. Yeah, that's about it. And that's because that politician didn't have a base. So, but every other person, you won't be surprised that someday we'll hear that Dasuki's out there. And I'm not saying he's guilty, but you don't be surprised if someday Dasuki walks. Don't be surprised if someday all the other guys who have been tried for corruption from the Goodluck Jonathan era walk as well. I know the presidency keeps saying that they have to reform the judiciary, and we're here when some lawyers, some judges were arrested. So it's a whole different mix, you know, in this whole thing. The judiciary is suffering from corruption as well, lack of diligent prosecution from the federal government. And if you have money, you get a good lawyer, can assure you, you'll work.
Yeah. What does this do for 2019 now? Because I mean, a lot of people have always said that all of this drama, even from Senate President Bukola Saraki running for the seat of Senate President, always boils down to him wanting to be president in 2019. Yeah. Then all of this drama came up. It looked like he was sort of out of the running now. He's built his base sort of back again. Yeah. He's loved by people in Kwara State. He's suddenly becoming this nationalist, you know, always talking about, fighting for the people. Do you think it changes the shape of things to come in 2019? I mean, President Buhari, we don't know if he's going to run or not yet. Osinbajo's name has been thrown in there. Vice President Osinbajo has been thrown in there a few times. Bola Tinubu's name comes up a few times. Governor El-Rufai. But Senate President Saraki now, how strong a contender could he be?
Yeah, he'll be there or thereabout when time comes for the APC to choose a he's had the ambition for as long as anyone can remember, and himself and Atiku, I think they've carried their ambitions this far, and they'll give anything to be in the race in 2019. And given that President Buhari is struggling with his health at this time,
it could be a very open race.
Yeah, it would be an open race, and I foresee a situation where Buhari doesn't run. I hope he doesn't, for his sake and for the sake of his health. And I doubt that will happen. Ask Oshibanjo to complete his 8-year term. I doubt that will happen, given the geopolitical war and everything. I don't think the North will take that lightly. And to complete Buhari's term, it will go to the North. And like you said, Saraki isn't the running. He's a Northerner. Whether he speaks Yoruba or not, it doesn't matter at this point. Atiku will also make. So it's going to be very interesting. I think by next year we're going to begin to see a very frenetic.
Late this year, knowing Nigeria.
Yeah, knowing Nigeria is going to be, especially if the president doesn't make a return anytime soon.
Yeah.
You know, there will be all kinds of conjectures, all kinds of recalibration of the political space and all of that. So we are in for a very dramatic next 2 years.
Well, speaking of dramatic and speaking of the elections, before we go now very quickly, we did hear from Governor Fayose, Ekiti State Governor, also saying that he's thrown his heart in there already. Yeah, the PDP seems to be going through a lot of trouble. Yeah. And we don't seem to understand what's really happening with the party. But he's like the most vocal sort of opposition of the federal government these days. I mean, he has a shot, doesn't he?
Yeah, and he's thrown the name of God in there. He says God has told him he'll be president. And he keeps saying that at this point, I have learned not to take Fayose lightly. I take him very seriously, as a matter of fact. He keeps saying that no one gave him a chance to come back as governor after he was thrown.
Which is very true.
Yeah, and he did it. He beat an incumbent in all local governments. So when it comes to Fayose, all bets are off. And he's one guy I have learned to really study, the kind of Amala politics and he runs. Which
it appeals to a lot of people.
Yeah, it appeals to stomach infrastructure kind of politics. People love him. And I don't know if he has that love around the country, but man, if he plays it the way he's been playing it in Ekiti, you can't count him out.
Wow, tells you a lot about Nigeria that in 2017, June 2017, we're already talking about 2019 because, I mean, in this country, elections only last for 2 years. And another cycle begins. Thanks very much, Jude, for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
We'll be right back with more right here on Rubbin Minds. Please stay with us.
Just